Here we go. We are live, everyone. Welcome to the Bleav NFL Live Week 9 reaction show right here on the Bleav YouTube channel. We are live every single Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we are ready to react to another wild Week 9 of the NFL season. Now, look, the Bleav Sports Network, it has 32 NFL podcasts with 32 former NFL players for every single team. And this week, this show will feature our wildly talented and entertaining NFL roster. So jump in the chat, comment, come hang out with us for the next hour. You can follow me on Twitter at Joey Sports Guy. Follow us on our main page at Bleav Sports. All-star lineup today, real quick. Our guest coming up in 10 minutes. The Charity Stripes, Josh Fisher, is going to be joining us. And then stick around at 4:40 Pacific time. We're going to have Cam Rogers, the lock-it-in man himself. You've seen him on national TV making his picks every single week. He's going to join us at 4:40. But first, my man, let's bring him in. What a perfect week to have him here. He's the Bleav in Steelers podcast host, but we sometimes talk Bears from time to time. This is Mark Bergin. Mark, welcome back. How are you?
Joey, thanks for having me. And if you see a twinkle in my eye tonight, reason being the Steelers can't hurt me this afternoon. It's wonderful. 2-6. There's nothing that they could do today because the Steelers are on a bye week. I'm refreshed. I have an extra hour of sleep, daylight savings time, fall back. NFL Week 9. Let's do this.
Seriously, I got 9.5 hours of sleep last night, which was fantastic. Didn't see that coming. And then second of all, as we all know, my beautiful wife is a huge Steelers fan. She got up today. She made bacon. She got the coffee iced drink of her choice. She took our dog Vito for a walk on a beautiful fall day here in Southern California. Not a care in the world. Slightly checked in on how Chase Claypool is doing a little bit, and we might get to that at some point here in this next hour. But no, good to have you here, man. Go for it. What's on your mind?
Shout out to Vito, number one. Number two, Joey. I'm burying the lead here. We were talking a little bit before the show. I may or may not have cooked lobster scrambled eggs today with that extra hour of time that I normally don't have. So it's been a wonderful Sunday.
You put the scrambled eggs on your plate and not in your brain watching the Steelers offense these past 5 or 6 weeks. And we're off, Mark. And we're off. Now, look, man, look, I think a big part about today is we are going to talk about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears in a loss. We're also going to talk about the Miami Dolphins too as well. And Mark, I'm going to have to pace myself here a little bit because I got a lot of big thoughts. We're going to talk a little 773, a little 312, I think a little bit later in the show. But I want to open up the floor to you right now. Justin Fields today. Let's just stick with the numbers, all right? The Chicago Bears, again, 252 team rushing yards for the fourth straight game of over 200-plus rushing yards as a team. Justin Fields sets an NFL history record with 178 rushing yards in a regular season game. They come up short against the Dolphins. But clearly, I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of these games today, but the Chicago Bears, they're at the top of the menu, right? What was your reaction, and how are you ingesting that Justin Fields performance today?
I'm not one for moral victories, Joey. However, you have to be very, very intrigued by Justin Fields beyond this season, considering all of the picks that the Bears still have, even after the Chase Claypool deal, and also $100 million in salary cap space that they'll be able to spend this upcoming offseason. You hang around with the Miami Dolphins team that's likely going to the playoffs. It's a special offense, Tua and the two Bugattis on the outside, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Warren, and you hang with them today. I know it's a home game, but Justin Fields looked great. He kept them in the game, gave them the opportunity to win, which is especially impressive considering Ryan Poles, the GM, trades away your two best defensive players in this last week in Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, and you still hung with the Miami Dolphins team that, again, is going to be playoff bound. So all that considered, I'm not one for moral victories today, but when you break a record and you're considered a running quarterback and you break a record held by Michael Vick, you're in special company. And I like what I'm seeing in the progression that I've seen from Justin Fields. That was on full display this afternoon.
Yeah, I said it in the pregame show. I've never felt so good after a loss. I'll be honest with you. You know, losing is
ever.
And look, you had the pass interference penalty that wasn't called against Chase Claypool in those final seconds there in that game. They had plenty of opportunities. The Miami Dolphins only punted one time in that game. Plenty of problems with the Chicago Bears, and they're not getting any better this time this season. But Mark, man, I mean, and on a day when Tyreek Hill puts up 146 receiving yards, eclipsing 1,100 receiving yards after week 9, the story is still Justin Fields, right? Am I being a homer about that game. When we talk about what's the story of that game, right now it is Justin Fields. So I want to throw it back to you really quick. He's shown it now for about 4 weeks. We all know the progression of Jalen Hurts and what he's been able to produce this season now that he has weapons around him. Where do you start kind of moving Justin Fields up in the hierarchy a little bit of NFL quarterbacks? I'm not saying top 5, but he's going to jump. If this is a CFB ranking this week with Justin Fields, where do you have him ascending, and do you think he has staying power in the weeks ahead?
That's a great question, and I think you're being a little bit of a homer, Joey, to answer your question, because that's just really the standard, though, for Tyreek Hill. We expect 150 yards and at least a score. That's what we expect.
What he does.
As far as Justin Fields, I kind of look at it from this standpoint: is where is he in relation to the other quarterbacks in the 2021 draft class? And right now, I think there's an argument to be made that he's at the very top of the list, especially considering the talent or lack thereof around him. I don't want to throw any individual player under the bus. They're going to play to the best of their ability. But the skill position players around Justin Fields is why you go out and trade a second-round pick for Chase Claypool. I'm on record saying that's a win-win for both the Bears and the Steelers. Couldn't really get Claypool going today, 2 catches on 6 targets, but that will develop over time with continuity. And you know what? If he doesn't pan out, he can play out the rest of this season, the rest of next season, and then he can go see what he's worth on an open market. So you get at least him a big body, the size and speed. With Chase Claypool from the neck down, he's everything you'd want in a receiver. And it's a flyer. The Bears still have a second-round draft pick that they can use because they have so many picks. So, hanging with Miami today, keeping that within 3 points at the very end of the game. And again, Fields had the opportunity to win today. And if he had better receivers, we saw this in the Thursday night game against Washington earlier this year. If he had better receivers that could make plays down the stretch, you might be talking about a different result. So I liked what I saw from him today. And in terms of where he's at quarterbacking wise, I look at where he's at relative to his own class. And there's an argument to be made that he belongs at the very top of that conversation.
Yeah, and with the Chicago Bears, there's 2 hands, right, where you want Justin Fields to progress, and you're seeing that right now. While also at the same time, the Chicago Bears are losing. They're 1-5 in their last 6 games. If you want to talk big picture, not just right now, if you look moving forward with this NFL draft, the Chicago Bears could be looking at possibly a top 10 pick, possibly a bite at the apple of a top offensive tackle, top defensive end. And all of a sudden, with that salary cap that they have next year, you're starting to kind of look at it and you're saying to yourself, wow, the Chicago Bears could be turning in the right direction. Of course, he has to stay healthy moving forward. Real quick, before we bring in Josh Fisher from the Charity Stripe, we're going to go through these games, Mark, but let's just start. What's the biggest takeaway? What is the game that really stuck out to you today? Because some of these games, I mean, honestly, my confidence pool is shattered in many different respects right now. So what was your biggest takeaway from one of these games today?
Well, I'll keep it in the AFC North as a Steelers host. Joe Mixon tried to win fantasy football by scoring all of his points in 1 week. So that was
in the first half.
Takeaway. Yeah, it was just like, I don't know what vendetta he had against the Carolina Panthers, but my Lord, I'm not sure if he's done scoring yet. So that was really one of them, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. He had, I Bleav, in a full PPR league, I Bleav he had 47 points. It
was ridiculous.
In fantasy, he was on pace for 94 at one point. He still managed, I think he ended up with 57, 58. Let's just go right ahead. Let's bring him into the stream right now. He is the host of Best of Bleav on Stadium. He is the host of the Charity Stripe. He is Josh Fisher himself. Josh, man, welcome into Bleav NFL Live. How are you?
Good. And I'm also watching Thomas Brady try to orchestrate another comeback here, gentlemen. Football has been nuts, to say the least, between college football yesterday and everything that went down. And obviously today's games with the Jets beating the Bills, which was pretty crazy. I'm excited to join you two. I think this might be the first time Mark and I have hopped on the mic together, which is in all these years. And Joey, you too? Is this the first time we've gone to you? No, we've gone a couple years ago.
We did a couple NFC North roundtables together, and then we did an NFL draft. It was
Mark,
lockdown though.
It was lockdown. It didn't count. Yeah. It was like, it doesn't count like the Dodgers World Series. What's happening, gentlemen? How we doing? Thank you. That World
Josh,
Series
it's an
doesn't
honor to
count.
share the airwaves with you. I appreciate the kind words.
Of
We're
course,
doing
guys.
fantastic here. It was it was another really interesting day in the NFL. Maybe not
Yeah.
in the production side of things with most of the games, but a lot of them ended in one score or these final second, these last couple of moments. I want to throw a heavy hitter at you a little bit, just off the top. You kind of stepped on it a little bit, so maybe I already know your answer. But what's a bigger win today in the grand scheme of things? The Minnesota Vikings picking up a victory and gaining 4 games in the NFC North, or Robert Saleh and the New York Jets taking down the Buffalo Bills? What's the bigger win today?
It's not even close. Not to poo-poo your question, not even close.
Yeah.
It's Jets in a mile. I mean, this New York, first of all, this Jets team is like 6-3, and you guys know the papers in at least 4 or 5 days are going to be calling for Zach Wilson's head. There's no mercy in New York. This Jets team, for pretty much my entire life, has been so pitiful. And my father's a Jets fan. I'm a Patriots fan. My cousin's a Jets fan. Like, our whole family's pretty much split. And I honestly don't even dislike the Jets. Like, they held on to the time they beat us in the playoffs many years ago with Bart Scott's Can't Wait and that amazing post-game interview. That's like the highlight of their fanhood. Seriously. And you feel bad for these people. And so I'm watching this Bills game. I'm watching this Jets game. And Buffalo is extremely human. It's a bad loss for Buffalo because now all of a sudden, while we all think they'll win the AFC East still, the grip is not as tight. Like Miami with Tua, like that offense can fly and go. The Jeff Wilson acquisition was great. Raheem Mostert is a solid running back, and they probably realistically have the best receiving duo in the league, maybe, as it stands right now with injuries and whatnot. So the Dolphins are dangerous. The Patriots, albeit against my, Sam Ellinger, pitched almost another shutout against the Colts, and their defense
5-4. 5-4 now.
Great. He's the best defensive mind in the history of the game. No offense to your guy, Mike Tomlin. Bill is a mastermind. And it's probably why him and Tom work so well together. He had the great offense and the great defense. The Jets are now 6-3 with a win over Buffalo. In division win over Buffalo. And I look at this Jets team, and they lost Vera Tucker. They lost Becton. So their 2 first-round offensive linemen aren't playing. They've had horrible luck on the offensive line. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Elijah Moore is throwing a temper tantrum that he hasn't earned. Seriously, has he? Like, why? Like, just because you went to Ole Miss and our boys with DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown doesn't mean you could come in here in your second year where you're in and out of the lineup your first year and demand a trade. It's bonkers. Oh, my God, guys. I'm doing double time. There's a terrible drop by Scotty Miller.
No, keep it live. Keep it live. It's a live
This
stream.
Jets team, I'm with you. The ADD is doing fine. This Jets team, to me, defensively, first of all, Quinn Williams is becoming who we thought he'd become.
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine Johnson is going to be good. Sauce Gardner's a stud and already one of the top cornerbacks in the league, even as a rookie. We got to give him that. Saleh's fingerprint is slowly forming on this Jets team, him and Joe Douglas. And this is something that the Jets franchise have needed for a long time. And I think Zach Wilson, I don't know. My co-host, Alexander Tsopoulos, shout out to him, a guy you know really well, both y'all. His favorite game to play is the 2021 quarterback drafted rookie second-year sophomore rankings. So, like, who's number one? It always changes. 1 week Trevor Lawrence is number 1, and 1 week he's number 6, right? Zach Wilson hasn't spent much time in the number 1 slot, and right now, in my eyes, outside of Trey Lance, because he's got an NA, he's looking like the worst quarterback out of that class, of the guys who are really starting games. I mean, look at your Justin Fields broke Michael Vick's record today. Was fantastic. And they are utilizing his legs to grow some confidence in the pass game. Trevor Lawrence, you spend so much time like wishing and expecting and anticipating him to blow up and have an amazing game, and he just leaves you like every game's a cliffhanger. It's so close with him every time.
There's an athleticism gap that I thought we were going to see from him that we're just not seeing. It's hard to put my finger on it. They're very lucky to have Etienne in that offense right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, Etienne's a first-round talent. And look, the Jags had the first overall pick and took Lawrence, and they have the first overall pick again, which doesn't take much analysis to say they sucked. It's disgraceful to have back-to-back first overall picks. You have to be a piss poor franchise to do that. And they did that. Now they have 3 wins. Are they a really good team? No, but their plus minus differential is pretty solid. They get a win over I have no idea what's going on in Las Vegas. It's an absolute dog shit. Seriously, like, what do you like? Did Davante Adams go scorch earth in the first half, sleeps with Derek Carr's wife in the locker room during halftime, and then can't see another catch pretty much in the second half? It's like, what are we like? I was watching my fantasy team and borderline in tears. I had him and Josh Allen, and I had Nick Chubb and CeeDee Lamb on a bye.
Joshua, let me piggyback off your Jets point really quickly, because you're speaking a lot of truth. To piggyback off this, you mentioned the injuries along the offensive line. Don't forget about the injury to Breece Hall, who is working his way up as offensive rookie of the year. Someone we really liked coming out of Iowa State, a do-it-all back coming out of the draft. That's another injury that they've still been able to overcome. Sure. And then also, I have to dispute, you said, the Bart Scott post-game interview is most famous Jets moment ever. I'm going to go with Rex Ryan's famous "I want a snack" speech in Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan, my all-time favorite.
Rex Ryan has some great moments. I have a couple of favorite moments from Rex Ryan that are not even funny. And yes, I was going to say about the Breece Hall thing, don't remind me, because the aforementioned fantasy team had him as well. Yep. You guys know I'm a Texas guy. I've seen Breece Hall dice this up many a time. He's a supreme talent. Like, he's great. Throw it to Godwin. God damn it. Oh my God. What is he doing? Is Chris Godwin going after Giselle, like, in the red zone? Like, why can we not get the ball to Godwin? I don't understand what's going on here, fellas. You know what the craziest thing, and I heard you guys talking about the biggest shock of the day, and you asked me about the Minnesota Vikings. This Green Bay Packers team is crumbling. From within. It's crazy.
And that's my follow. Twinkle in his eye when you say that, Josh.
Well, first of all, absolutely delighted. He throws 3 picks today, and he's the guy that honestly probably tries to avoid picks like the plague. Like, he'll literally rather throw it out of bounds than probably get an interception.
As you should.
3 of them today against the Detroit Lions. But my other one too, as well, is if you put it in the landscape of the NFL, what was a bigger factor today? The Bills losing, the Packers losing, or the Falcons losing? If you look at it, there's 2 different ways to look at that, right? Like, 1, the Bills are human. 2, the Falcons, look, they got to pick up wins where they can get them to try and maybe hang around in this NFC South. But it's really the Packers, because the Packers are dead, right? This is over. It's not coming back. There's no relax. There's no moment where they're going to get to 500. Are they going to win 8 games this year? They lose this game today, and I think all that stuff that we've been talking about, and probably we'll talk about on Monday, is that the Packers are done.
Joey, I got to bring something up, because it looks like the Bucs are going to lose here to the Rams. Keep an eye on the Microsoft Surface tablets on the Buccaneers sidelines. I'll report back.
What? Wait, I can't see that game.
2 seconds. You lost for 2 seconds, guys. I'm back in it. My mic was unplugged. Apologies. The Packers situation. Look, I'm not saying they're done. There's still 8 games left to be played, and it still is Aaron Rodgers. He won the MVP last year. They have a lot of issues. Aaron Jones coming out the game, not helpful. Dobbs coming out the game, not helpful. He's a young talent. The Christian Watson pick really hasn't worked out for them. So they didn't really replace Davante Adams, and it's tough to replace a guy like Davante Adams, but you have to replace that production somehow in some way, in maybe not with one player, but with a couple players, and they failed to do that. And the Jordan Love pick a couple years ago, that looks like a waste of a first-round pick that they just pretty much threw away, because we're not seeing him. So this Packers team, in some ways, has been managed pretty nicely, but in other ways has been mismanaged. So I think their franchise isn't done. This iteration of this team, it can easily get back next year with a good draft and a good free agency if they keep number 12 back to the promised land. But this year has been extremely disappointing for them. The Minnesota Vikings offense is going to continue to get better because they bring in Hawkinson, right? It's like the same thing with Rob Gronkowski to me. Like, obviously not as good, but in Kittle. The tight ends get so much love for the receiving game. People gloss over how impactful they can be blocking. A guy like Hawkinson is like a 6th offensive lineman out there. You watch like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, and everyone's like, oh, Brady's getting divorced. That's why they're playing badly. And look, obviously that doesn't help. We've all gone through our breakups, right? We know how we can be at work, especially today's day when they have cell phones and you're waiting, you see the messages on red and you're waiting for that text back. You're going to miss a few emails. It's the bottom line, right? He loses Gronk, loses a couple offensive linemen, goes through a head coaching change. No one's talking about that. So this Vikings team is serious. They have the best receiver in football, arguably. Thielen's is a great receiver. You have Dalvin Cook. They are in a rocket ship to really contend with the Eagles. And the Falcons, I mean, the whole NFC South is absolute fugaisma. Like, what are we doing there? It's stupid to me. I think the Niners are a real interesting team to watch. I think the Giants will come back to life a little bit. The Cowboys are, whether they get Odell or not, tomato. I really think this defense is something to watch. Defense wins championships. Both of you guys know that better than anybody with the two franchises you guys cover, and myself included with the Patriots, right? The team I root for. So I think that this Cowboys defense is something to really watch in the second half of the season, because that's what can get them there to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, your boy Nick Kreider loves the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl, and he was on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about it. And honestly, in this NFC, I can buy it for right now. And in terms of the Giants, I think when you look at this NFC, it's all about stacking up wins. When you sit at 6 wins right now, and you look at the landscape of what the other teams do not have right now, they're sitting pretty. So I'm in agreement with you. If they come back to earth even just a little bit, they're still sitting pretty for at least a playoff spot. Mark, hop in here just a little bit on the Packers, where the Falcons sit in all this. And then even on top of it too, we've been talking about it, Mark, a lot about Tom Brady. The thing that has surprised me, Josh, too, as well, is that just when they get in the red zone, they can't capitalize. And this is something that Tom Brady's excellence, his greatness, is usually something that you're able to figure out. And you can talk all you want about personnel. It's just, it surprised me, Mark. It really has this year.
Well, today's Lions defense was bend but don't break, because they intercept Rodgers 3 times, twice inside its own 5-yard line. And then they get another red zone stop, turning over the Packers for a 3rd time to clinch the win today. So shout out to Detroit's defense. And the Packers defense actually played okay today. And they should be damn good because of how many first-round draft picks they spent on the defensive side of the football, which is part of the reason I think Aaron Rodgers has been so grumpy about how Packers management has handled everything. But yeah, I mean, just offensively, it's not the same Aaron Rodgers we've seen from seasons past. Okay, maybe Devontae Adams helps pick up the load, but I find it hard to believe that only one player would solve all of the problems that we've seen this season from the Packers.
I don't think it would solve all the problems. I do think having Devontae Adams there would be a massive help. Granted, look at the Raiders. They have him now, and they're pitiful. Like they can't hang on to a lead.
Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they were simpatico. You know what I mean? It was telepathy out there between the two of them. And the fact that Rodgers just doesn't have that anymore with any particular player. That's why he wants Randall Cobb back, because it feels like he has an idea of what this guy's going to do at any moment.
Dude, what year is this, bro? What year is this?
Exactly. That's the mistake. There's the mistake.
Like, I want Brewski back. Like, what are we doing here?
Give me the law firm. Give me the law firm right now.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, fine wine. Randall Cobb's done. Like, yes. You're not getting Jordy Nelson back. You're not getting Greg Jennings back. Like, these guys, like, the Packers need to bring in a wide receiver. I don't understand why, and no shot on Quay Walker they took in the first round. Go up and get Chris Olave. Like, what were you doing? Go get an Olave. Now they're going to
good receivers too. There were a ton of good receivers in this last year's draft. I mean, whether it was Olave or pick what kind of car you want, because there were a ton of different kinds of receivers in this last year's draft. So I'm with you there, Josh.
Yeah, they could have done a number of things. Again, it's just mismanagement.
They took Christian Watson. That's what they did.
Yeah, they did. Like, that's done diddly squat, dude. It's been pretty much as valuable as you, me, and Mark. Like, it doesn't, like, come on, man. Watson's done nothing for him. And going back to, I'm just like now kind of teetering back to this Bills. And yeah, they're human. That shows that. And first of all, the Jets defense is good. But now they're 6-2. And if the Chiefs win tonight, which we all think will happen, they're going to be 6-2 as well. And yeah, the Bills have the head-to-head, but one loss by Buffalo and a win by puts the Chiefs ahead of them. And now you don't have as much of a grip on the conference as you thought you did. And that's an issue to me. Like, it's not a bad loss. They're not the Jets of old. Clearly, they have 6 wins. But if you are a Super Bowl contender, like, look at the Patriots. Every year, the Patriots beat the you-know-what out of the entire division. You must win division games. And if you're as good as we think you are, Buffalo, best quarterback in the league, maybe people are saying, best receiver in the league, maybe people are saying, you have Von Miller, right, in a great and a deep defensive line. You have to go and beat the New York Football Jets when their quarterback is Zach Wilson and their offensive line is kind of depleted.
So, Josh, I want to push this a little bit further because honestly, I think we're here on Bleav NFL Live with Charity Stripes, Josh Fisher, and Bleav in Steelers, Mark Bergin. Push this a little bit further because I feel like at this point right now, there's a lot of stories and a lot of things about the NFL that slip through the cracks every single year. Yeah. And one of those I feel like might be the Jets defense. Can you push a little bit further about, is this Jets defense for real? Does it have staying power? Because I think they continuously keep getting slept on. When you talk about Zach Wilson, I love Garrett Wilson, but Zach Wilson at quarterback, they can contend because of that defense, right?
Yeah, I mean they are contending because of the defense.
There you go.
Like we're at the point of like, oh, like this isn't week 2. Like we're going to be on week 10 next week. It's week 9. They're 6-3. They're already contending. They're in. Like they're playing the game. They brought in C.J. Mosley a couple years ago. He's had some injury issues. He's playing, right? You have Quinnen Williams, who's a stud. And you have Quincy Williams, who's playing there with his brother. Both are really nice guys. Shout out to them. Like, and obviously Sauce, you have a number 1 corner now. Like Huff is good. Like you have they had 5 sacks today. They had 5 sacks today.
Yeah, 4 turnovers too, 2 picks, 2 fumbles too. Yeah,
dude, the defense is that good, and it's going to get better because they're young. Honestly, my favorite game to play is imagine if they did what they should have done. Hindsight 2020 Monday morning quarterback and taking Micah Parsons last year, 2nd overall.
A lot of teams.
There was no way he was going to go that high, though, Josh, because of his character issues coming out of Penn State. Now, obviously, hasn't mattered at all in the league, but there was no way he was going to go that high at the time. Again, like you said, hindsight is 2020, though.
Yeah, dude, talk to my 5th grade math teacher. I have character issues too. All right, like if he was going to be drafted in the 1st round, you might as well take like, well, we're going to penalize the guy. We're going to pass up on him. Shame on him, and we'll show him he'll get drafted 11th instead of 2nd. Like hindsight 2020, realistically, not even this. The Jaguars should have taken him over Trevor Lawrence. I will die on that hill.
I just kind of thought it
right now. Like why the best player from that draft last year is Micah Parsons.
And he went like in the same spot as Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah. In a world where Gardner Minshew is still the Jaguars quarterback, that's an alternate universe, Joshua. Whatever you're having to drink, I want some.
Coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, K-Cup. Yeah. Shout out to them. America runs on it.
That's W. So can anyone fill me in? I don't have it on the TV right here. What's going on in Bucks Rams right now?
Bucks are going to win this thing. Brady just scored.
Yeah, they just scored.
9 ticks left, 16-13. They have no timeouts, the Rams. Stafford's probably going to have to heave one up. I swear to Mother Earth, if Cooper Kupp catches it up, dude, he's got it. He threw it back. I wanted that to be a fumble so badly. Tutu Atwell's got it. He's throwing it back. That's back to, is that Higbee? No, Skoronski, whatever you say his name. But Lyman's got it. Kupp's got it now. Fumble this thing. Yes, that's a fumble. Oh, it's got to be -2 for Cooper Kupp, right? I need that, dude. I would literally pay $20 for that.
Live on the field.
His feed's ahead of mine, Joey.
Yeah,
live on the field with Josh Fisher there, right there. We're gonna see if the fantasy score tips the scales for you in the right way. I did want to hop over to this other game really quick. We just touched on it a little bit. Yeah. I just think this can go either way. I want you to both weigh in. Josh, you'll go first if you'd like. Biggest takeaway from the Chargers 20-17 win over the Falcons. Either team. What's the biggest takeaway out of that game?
Wish I had a pillow. Snooze fest. That was my biggest takeaway. It was a boring game.
We're talking about how the Brady and the Bucks and really the overall the NFC South has been. If the Falcons were to steal this division, they get Cordero Patterson back. But yeah, overall, I'm with Josh, where it's just like a 5-3 team against a 4-5 Falcons team. Now it's just like,
I would rather watch Breaking Bad reruns than in any NFC South game. You get me on Kamara. I like him a lot, obviously. They got Red Rocket at quarterback. PJ Walker got benched for Baker. You want to talk about an alternate universe, Mark?
Hang on, Josh.
He's back, baby.
Listen. I like watching the Panthers because they're entertaining.
Do
It's
you?
just comedic gold. It's comedic gold. Today, Joe Mixon just
They
takes
delivered-
out. He
yeah.
just does a vendetta against the Panthers. I thought this was a frisky Panthers team, which they were sitting at 2-6 going into this week, and it's like, oh, we're one game out of the division. We could still salvage things. They get absolutely smoked today. And yeah, PJ Walker, maybe I like to see what he did in the XFL. He took this team to the playoffs with what's the math? A 7-10 record. The 17-game schedule always goofs me up. Sign me up. Sometimes it gets so bad it's good, and that's the case with the NFC South and the Carolina Panthers. DJ Moore ripping his helmet off. It was incredible television. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's funny, but if that PJ Walker led team, which I think the chickens have come to roost on him, if that PJ Walker led Panthers team had gone, I would have been a Buddhist monk and taken a vow of silence. That the charity stripe would have been just the other two. I would have had no idea what would have happened to it, and I'd be in a monastery because there's no way.
Yeah, would we have done cards, sign language? Then you'd still be there doing the pods, but you wouldn't be able to speak.
I'd be tending to the garden. There's no way this Panthers team. First of all, they have good defensive pieces, so I'm not okay, they're an absolute gong show. I mean, they're gonna have a tough decision, dude. If you guys watch any college football yesterday, if they have the first overall pick in this upcoming draft, I am not as stoked as many people are on CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. I'm really not. I've been like a Bryce Young denier for a long time. I really have been.
Thin. I mean, I love his decision making, and I do think he has poise. He's never panicked. I like his demeanor. But he's probably 170 pounds soaking wet right now. He gets hit the wrong way in the pocket by grown men in the NFL. He's got to put on some weight. That's just my personal opinion. And I see what you mean with CJ Stroud, because Ohio State is head and shoulders above any team that they've played in the Big Ten, to where their backups and their backups are more talented than the teams that they go up against in the Big Ten Conference. And that's not a hyperbole either. Go look at the recruiting rankings with the 4 and 5 stars that they consistently get compared to the other teams in the Big Ten, pretty much everyone other than Michigan. Other Big Ten schools are lucky to get 1, maybe 2 5 stars in a recruiting class. And Ohio State is loaded with them because of all the talent discrepancy that exists in college football. So I understand your sentiment there, Josh, because, when you have – just look at the receivers that have come out of Ohio State the last 2 seasons. And I could list all the names, but they're all in the league at this standpoint. And I'll wield back to you.
I mean, look at the guys they have now. Harrison Jr., Igbuka, Smith and Jigba. Julian Fleming was the number 1 recruit. Dude's the 4th receiver on the team.
Stud.
Henderson Williams. I mean, he's got an army out there, and he barely beats Northwestern. He looks so pedestrian against a Northwestern. No offense, Joey. Joey, did you go there?
No, I didn't go there, but that was my college team growing up. So you guys are talking college football right now. I went to a performing arts college and did all that shit. But Northwestern was my football team. I didn't have anything else. I mean, I guess Notre Dame, I had some uncles and cousins, but yeah, the Wildcats.
Go Cats.
Darnell Autry, baby. Dwayne Bates.
I'm sorry.
What we're having.
Yeah, I look at this comment section. Rogers is the next guest, and he's thinks the Vikings win was way more important than the Jets win today. I mean, just so you guys know,
he had the Commanders. The Commanders was his lock of the week. So
his lock of the week was the Panthers upsetting the Bengals, dude. This guy, just so you know, you might want to drug test your next guest. Love the guy. Can
we keep Joshua here to have him stick around to hear what argument he has to say that the Vikings win is a bigger deal than the Bills win? Because I hate to agree, Josh. I hate to agree with you for the sake of conversation, but you're spot on there saying that's a way bigger deal, and people are going to be talking about that way more come Monday than they are about the Vikings win and the Vikings extending their lead in the NFC North.
Dan Snyder sell the team Commanders, who have those uniforms, dude. I could throw up on a canvas, and that would have been better than what they sported today. Those
Yeah, it looked
uniforms,
like FedEx.
XFL, like BS, bogus, non-NFL uniforms. I appreciate you agreeing with me, Mark. And I mean, dude, like I'm in the trenches with these Jets fans in these group texts, and these dudes are besides themselves. Like they are so happy. Like it's like they don't see this. Like the Vikings, like have been pretty good and competitive recently. The Jets have been a laughing stock. They've been a joke, and they have a quarterback issue, and they have injuries, and they're still having these meaningful wins. This is the biggest. Like, dude, when the Jets beat the Patriots, and I watch with like my family, like they don't even say anything after. That's how shocking it is, dude. Like it's
It's been a long time.
The fact that they beat the Bills, who are double-digit favorites, I believe today, is like end of sixth sense shocking to them.
I think it was 13. I think the line was 13 going into the game.
I mean, yeah, dude, covered and some. Covered in the win, money line. Yeah.
We're live here with Charity Stripes, Josh Fisher, and Bleav in Steelers. Mark Bergin here on NFL Live. Cam, if you're watching right now, jump in the stream, man. We got Josh here for just a couple more minutes if you want to hop in real quick. Mark, go first.
Joey, if you want to get me a nice birthday gift, I'm a men's medium. Taylor Heineke Black Commanders uniform. I'll rock it here on the Bleav NFL reaction show. And listen, you might need to shield your eyes, or honestly, Josh, a technique I use when jerseys are very, very heinous. Most TVs have a black and white setting that you can set it to. If your eyes are bleeding and it's just too heinous and you can't take it, turn your TV to black and white. Pro tip for you there.
Thank you. And I'll also throw in I Love Lucy afterwards. I mean, I like some of these jerseys. I like the Vikings purple. I mean, first of all, the Commanders should have stayed as the football team.
Thank you.
It's not a hot take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Easy, simple, WFT, the football team. Until further. No, I completely agree, man. The commies. I mean, come on, not in these troubled times. Don't make a nickname that's so easy to make fun of. Josh,
par for the course these times.
Yeah, for that organization. I wanted to throw something at you here before we bring in Cam, and if he shows up in time, we'll either spring it or we'll have him hop on with you in here in 1 second. So you were just talking about the Jets fans right now.
Yeah,
come on over to my bar. Come to my block a little bit here, and I want to talk to you, and I want to get your real opinion here. Now, I'm a guy here who I met a girl. I met a girl, and today that girl just ran for 178 rushing yards and broke an NFL regular season record. Now, what's your opinion right now with me moving forward, Justin Fields? I kind of want to put a ring on it right now. I'm thinking gifts like Janine Melnitz. We got one. I'm doing a Mrs. Doubtfire situation, Shawshank with the rain coming down. So you tell me, should I move in with first? Should we go on some vacations? Is this something I can hang my hat on? It's been a pretty good first month, this last month, paired with a really bad first month. Where are you with Justin Fields after today's performance? I want to
Dude, do not waste your miles on a vacation just yet, dude.
Okay.
Go to a couple dinners.
Night.
Take her dancing. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you met her at the bar, and you're ready to go to Puerto Vallarta with this chick. Like, relax, bro. Pump the brakes.
Hey, you know how hard it was.
50% of marriages end in divorce. So not to get too intense on the stream, but just so you know, okay. So before we start, going to these like nice, like desirable vacations and blowing our money, let's see what he can do with the arm. They bring in Claypool as his first game. Their offensive line is still mediocre at best. I mean, and that's a stretch. It's not as bad as Mark's offensive line over there, but it's not great. And the defense has some pieces, and I think the move to get Claypool, who I like, and Mark, I'm sure you like him too. He's a solid receiver, more than solid. He's a good receiver. He's not like one of the elite guys, but he's good. And you have Mooney, and you're not building around Roquan Smith. You're building around the quarterback. Like Roquan Smith is excellent, but he's not Brian Urlacher. Okay, you're not building around that guy. You take Justin Fields to build around him. You trade up and take Justin Fields to build around him. So I like what they're doing with getting Claypool. I like what they're doing, exercising and using his amazing ability to run. And hopefully that gives him more confidence in the pass game. But right now, any way you get yards, however you get it, he's moving the football. He put up 32 points against an extremely solid Dolphins defense, and the Finns barely squeaked one out, against the Bears team that they should have definitely beaten. I think the Bears have a lot of pieces. I think you're in better shape than Mark Steelers, quite frankly. It's just going to be about how you draft next year and who you could bring in realistically.
Well, I appreciate that because Josh, I slept on your couch after Mitch, and I really appreciate the help after that time. And Mark, I slept on your couch after Jay. So this is what I needed right now at this point in the relationship, to not look ahead, but just to savor the moments in the present and continue to build towards the future. Maybe a long weekend in San Diego. Maybe that's where I should be. With Justin Fields.
No, too stop soon? With the trips, dude. It's too soon. Go to a couple dinners. Like, why are you trying to let's get an Airbnb? Like, no, dude, you got to slow your roll, man. Slow down.
Alaska, 3 weeks.
Hey, I think with Joey, I think what Josh was saying is like, fancy dinner, whether it's Hub 51 or RPM or Gibson's or Chicago Cut. There's a lot of great places in the Windy City. Joshua, I'm with you yet again. You're on fire tonight.
Appreciate you.
I want to meet Justin Fields' parents, but we got to bring in Cam Rogers.
Go to Pitch and Putt, for Christ's sakes, dude. Good Lord.
Josh,
I'm letting you know we're near my sisters.
Stick with us for 2 minutes here. Stick with us for 2 minutes right here while we bring in Cam Rogers right now. He is Lock It In's Cam Rogers, Bleav's very own. Cam, I'm gonna open the floor to you. How are you, my good sir? Because Josh and Mark might have a bone to pick with you with some of your picks today. Vikings win, Jets win. How are you, my friend?
What's going on, guys? Great to be on the mic with you for the first time ever. It's a true honor. And sorry, I would have hopped on earlier, but I had to do a little shirt change here. And then I had to throw him some swagger deodorant. So I got to make up for Josh being on this show because he's got none of that. So,
yeah, I don't wear deodorant. I'm all natural. Sue me. And I won't wear deodorant now going forward, especially to prove a point.
I respect that.
I want a piss test out of you, Rogers, with that Vikings comment. I want you to pee in a cup.
Should we just dive into that right now?
No, make the case. Make the case, Cam.
Before I rock, make the case. I want to hear it, and I'll give you the floor.
The Minnesota Vikings are a fraudulent football team. Look at their DVOA on the defensive side. They've got a lot of problems there. And so it would have been a lot understandable for Kirk Cousins to go into Washington and lay an egg. And they almost did, for the record. Like, Heineke made a couple of boneheaded plays, as he does, and that's why he's the backup, by the way, Washington fans. Like, Carson Wentz should still be the starter. But they almost won that football game. And so, like, for Minnesota to lose that game was totally understandable. I mean, they had one loss. You're not going one loss the entire season if you're Minnesota on the road in Washington. You like that, the whole thing. Like, it made total sense. For the Jets, like, congrats, you beat the Bills, whatever, but, like, you're not going anywhere. Like, look at the Jets the last couple of weeks before that Bills game. Like, they have no offensive identity without Breece Hall. The offensive line is brutal in run blocking. So, Josh, don't get sucked into just this one day, my friend, okay? Like, there's
one day. Garrett Wilson's a stud, dude.
Doesn't matter.
Very good.
Zach Wilson is not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Zach Wilson stinks on ice. But this Jets win, and I was telling these guys, like, this doesn't happen, dude. You and I are spoiled, Cam. And Mark is spoiled too. Joey is not. This guy, you want to talk about, scent? This guy reeks of desperation. Like you do, Joey. Okay, I could smell you through my computer.
I mean, look at his jacket.
JF1's texting me right now. JF1's texting me. Hold on. What? Yeah.
Yeah. You reek of desperation, my friend. But Cam, you and I are spoiled with victories. Your team's always competitive, always. Yep. And they were my Super Bowl pick. And just an FYI, my World Series pick almost won this year. So that for Rodgers, for you, that could be a good sign. At least you may come in second. We're spoiled. The Jets fans never get this kind of victory. And it's a big win for Minnesota to be 7-1, but let Minnesota look, Minnesota, their only loss is to the Eagles, right? So they are already batting behind in the head-to-head. It's going to be a tough road and the Eagles got a cupcake schedule. It's going to be a tough road for them to win the NFC, but now they're in a position. They play their next game is against the Bills. If they beat the Bills in Buffalo, that's a bigger win than the Jets win today. That is like a coming out party of like, yo, not only is this team excellent, this team could win the whole damn thing. And then that shows me that Buffalo can't take care of business at home versus a team they might see in the Super Bowl. and now they're pedestrian, and now I'm immediately selling all my stock on them like they're Dogecoin.
So the way in which I'm viewing this is like the greater scheme of things. The Jets are not going to the playoffs. The Vikings are. And for them to go into Washington,
that is a tough hill to die on, dude.
And win a game that was a gritty game that they probably should have lost is impressive for me because it shows me that they have a little bit more grit than what I thought previous.
I was not impressed by them beating Taylor Heineke.
Are the Jets going to the playoffs, Josh?
They could, dude. They're 6-3, and they just beat the
Cam. Who are your 7 teams in the AFC then? If the Jets aren't going to go, and obviously we all think that the Bills will still win the AFC East.
Yep.
Who are your 7 playoff teams in the AFC then?
Bills, Titans, Chiefs, Baltimore, Miami. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the Chargers are getting in. They're so overrated. Actually, you know what? Forget it. The Chargers are not getting into the playoffs, and the Jets are not either. The Patriots and the Bengals are, and that fills out that 7 slot there.
I think
I'm sick of the Chargers. I'm so sick of them.
Fine. You don't have to drink that Kool-Aid, but this Jets Kool-Aid may be worth sipping, my friend. They are 4-0 on the road. They have one of the best defenses in the AFC.
Is that a credit to the Jets or an indictment on the Bills a little bit? Just going on the road, maybe laying down a little bit. Just something to keep in mind. You know,
I'm not poo-pooing that. The Bills should have won that game. They were favored by double digits. This Jets team, their next game is at Fox. I might be going to that actually. I just got off the phone.
In the Burrow?
I might be going to the Burrow. So I'll let you guys know. I'll call in.
Breaking news. Take us. Bring it to us. Bring it to us from the men's bathroom.
I will. I will literally call in from the men's restroom from that game. You guys will start a little earlier next week, and I will call from a urinal screaming. I'll get in a fight for this show. I haven't gotten a fight since the 8th grade, but I'll do it for this broadcast.
Josh throwing hands by the flagpole. I would not want to see that, honestly.
Lethal, bro. Lethal.
We're here on Bleav NFL Live Week 9. We were with the Charity Stripes. Josh Fisher, man, thank you so much for hopping on, man. Such a pleasure.
Great seeing you guys. Always a pleasure to be hopping on the mic with the 3 of y'all. Enjoy Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I'll see you guys later. I'll see you another time.
Josh, enjoy the coffee.
Thank you. Been there, done that. Hook 'em.
Thanks so much for coming on, Josh Fisher. You can check him out on Best of Bleav on Stadium every single week. We're here with Lock It In's Cam Rogers. Cam, we had to get a little bit going back and forth here going on with Josh Fisher here very quickly. We talked about the Vikings. We talked about the Jets. Let's just dive right in. What is the biggest beat of the day? There was a couple of things that seemed to be going in the competitors' way in terms of people covering the spreads, and it didn't quite end up that way in Week 9. What was the biggest beat of the day?
Well, you know what? I think the Dolphins and Bears game was pretty interesting. I mean, Joey, if I told you it was going to be a 35-32 score this morning, would you have believed me? Like, what?
I picked 35-31 to be very. It's one of the rare times I've been right on close score, final score proximity. But yeah, man, the Bears defense is bad. And to follow up maybe on that, Cam, are the Chicago Bears suddenly a perfect over total moving forward against whoever they play? Because their defense is bad. They're averaging 30 points a game over their last 3 weeks. I'm not saying they're going to win or lose. I'm not talking spreads. I'm just talking over on the points.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody talks about the wind and what have you. It was only like 16 miles an hour today in Chicago, and there was no precipitation. Yeah. So that's fine. And so, I think it's something to keep in mind as we go, because I think the books sometimes overestimate how the weather affects things in Chicago, like today, for instance. So yeah, it's something to certainly monitor here, and really impressive what the Bears are doing right now with that offensive line and the run game that they're doing, and what we're seeing from Justin Fields at this juncture. And Mark, you were talking about it with that draft class earlier in the show. He's been impressive. Outside of Trey Lance, he may be the most impressive quarterback in that class right now. Mac Jones looks like a loser. Put in Zappy, please. Whatever's going on with Trevor Lawrence, I have no idea. You got a good running back there, a good offensive line, and good wide receivers. Why you're not, figuring it out as much, I don't know. They did win today, but it was not impressive. So what Justin Fields in this offense is doing, by the way, with a defensive head coach and Eberflus, is very impressive in my own right. And, I think this whole 2 running back punch that we have in Chicago, Joey, with Herbert and Montgomery is working out well. I think Montgomery being more of a complimentary back makes more sense than him being the bell cow, because Herbert has a lot of talent, I think, as well. So, I think the over makes a lot of sense for Chicago going forward.
Joey, did you see the clip this week of Colin Cowherd calling David Montgomery Armstrong? Cam, thanks for getting the Bears running backs' names correctly. Shout out.
I'm a true professional, fellas. That's what I do.
And they got Armstrong. So they got Armstrong.
Exactly.
We've got Anthony Armstrong on Bleav in Commanders. So we got that, by the way.
All right.
So there you go.
I just want to ask you real quick. You nailed the Jags pick today. What did you see coming into that game a little bit? And I know you did talk about Trevor Lawrence, but I think the story really is more about Travis Etienne, really, with that offense right now more than anything else.
Absolutely. He is the up-and-coming bell cow back. And guys, that is a dying art in the NFL, as you know, like in terms of 3-down backs. Najee Harris is one, Mark, of course, but they're very far and few between these days. And Travis Etienne is that guy. And the fact that they traded away James Robinson is obviously a plus for Travis Etienne and what he is doing there. So obviously credit to him. The offensive line is doing a fantastic job in run blocking right now. Did they overpay Christian Kirk at the wide receiver position? Probably, but they had money to spend. And Chicago is going to be that Jacksonville of last year in the free agency period, by the way, with all the money that they have. So they'll be slinging around some dollars. But yeah, Jacksonville was pretty decent today. They came back from a really bad deficit. I think it's more of an indictment on Las Vegas and how bad they've been on the road, guys. They're winless on the road. Like, they just have not been able to figure it out this year. And so it's been a massive disappointment when they were very competitive with the Chiefs. Was it Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football? I forget. It was a primetime game, but they were right there.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was. I think it was a Sunday night game. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so this team has some moxie. They'll figure it out. And then they just lay an egg against Andy Dalton last week and then, lose this game today and cough up a big lead. So I think the Raiders are obviously destined for a top 3 pick this year. But for Jacksonville, I mean, what's going to happen in this AFC South? I don't know. I mean, the Colts looked horrible today. Jacksonville maybe finds some momentum today. We'll see what happens with the Titans tonight. I think the Titans lose outright, but they cover, if that makes sense, because Ryan Tannehill does not actually start tonight. Malik Willis is going to play tonight. And I think, they'll cover with Derrick Henry, but the Chiefs will find a way to win. And I think the AFC South is wide open. So for the Jaguars, they're feeling some moxie right now.
Cam, we know what's going to happen in the AFC South. The Titans will run the ball, play stout defense. Vrabel's a good coach, and they'll win the division again. It's rinse and repeat. It's not sexy, but we know that that's going to happen. Like, to me, there's no question. And I'm curious to see if they can put up a fight on the road in Kansas City at Arrowhead. That stadium is loud. To see, can you stay with Kansas City and the points that they're able to put up by doing it the old-fashioned way, running and grounding and pounding with Derrick Henry. Now, I know Malik Willis did not look good at all in his NFL first start. Honestly, it looked like
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, Jenny. It looked like junior varsity on the varsity,
Yeah.
but we know what's going to happen in the AFC South, and that's where it's like we know what's going to happen there. You mentioned ETN though too. Trevor Lawrence's teammate at Clemson, remember, he got hurt as a rookie a year ago. So this is really more like his true rookie season because he didn't play a single snap last season with the season-ending injury. So it's not a surprise to me because coming out of Clemson, he was a stud running back, and I'm glad to see him get right and everything thus far for the Jacksonville Jaguars because he's helped out fantasy football teams of mine this season with what he's been able to do with the ball in his hands.
Well, I was thinking about it from a fantasy perspective as well, Mark, and Joey, this is your wheelhouse too. But going into the season, the question marks were, how were the carries going to be divvied up between these two, James Robinson and Travis Etienne? Well, now we know our answer because James Robinson is no longer on this football team. So Travis Etienne is the bell cow back. He is the 3-down back for this team, and they will go as far as he can take them. But almost if you're a Jaguars fan, you don't want that. When you spend the draft capital that you did on a Trevor Lawrence, you want him to carry the team, right? If that makes sense. And listen, I know they're not littered with talent at the wide receiver position, but Trevor Lawrence eventually has to take this team and put it on his back and carry them to a playoff appearance and then continue to grow from there. I'm not seeing that it factor yet, but there's still time. There's still plenty of time for him to figure it out.
Is it
Yeah,
too late for Josh McDaniel to go back to New England and become the Patriots offensive coordinator? Is
It's
it too
way
late
too
for
late.
that?
Oh, Mark, knowing Bill Belichick, he'll be like, F you. I don't want you back here. Like, get out of here with this BS. And honestly, from what I understand, Bill Belichick is a really good guy when you get to know him. But like at the other end, it's like, why are you always so angry with the media? And Mark, you're a true journalist. You work in local news. Like, why are you so mad about journalists trying to do their jobs? Like, it's just the act gets annoying, and Nick Saban too. You know, it's just
you're not wrong there, Cam. But I don't know. Bringing back the Mac Jones whisperer, I don't think is the most far-fetched idea.
well, I don't know if Bill would want to bring him back. That's my thing. You know,
I do know what you mean, Cam. It's like, especially at the college level, it's like, whoa, you can't ask coach that question. It's just like, wait a second. If your team actually won games from a local perspective, tenfold the amount of people pay attention when your team's winning versus when your team's down in the dumps. I can promise you that, whether it's TV, whether it's radio, whether it's print publications, ratings, subscriptions, what have you, when the team is winning is tenfold better than if the team is down in the dumpster.
That's
I can promise you that.
Yep.
If you look at it though, with Bill Belichick, in my personal opinion, he's been in the game for so long, and it's been like this for this long, where I just think he likes it like that. You said it, you called it an act, Cam, and that's the game. And Popovich does the same thing of just, I'm just going to come in and play this game. And my life is a lot easier if I don't think too much and I'm just a prick the whole time. If I keep everything short, this part of my life will be over. I will move on, and therefore my rest of the day will go quite well. We got a couple more minutes here with Cam Rogers here. I got to get your take on Lions Packers, man. You know, your biggest takeaway from the game. Yeah, dude, I'm not going to rake them through the coals, Mark. I'm going to let other people do it, and then I'm going to watch, and I'm going to drink wine and have my shrimp cocktail while other people put. I mean, honestly, of all the games, Cam, for the Packers to at least pick up a win against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, they can't do it today. Biggest takeaway, Lions or Packers in that game?
The Packers are the biggest disappointment of the NFL this year. I mean, what you saw today was sad. I texted Glover Quinn right after the result. I'm like, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? He's like, I don't know. Something's going on. And listen, man, like, the Packers leadership failed Aaron in the sense that, like, they did not replace Davante Adams correctly. And it's hard to replace somebody like Davante Adams, of course, right? But they tried, I guess, at the NFL trade deadline. But here's the deal. They didn't create any good results out of that. They didn't get any good pieces out of that. I guess they were going for Claypool, but the Bears outbid the Packers, which is interesting.
But that's why the second round pick, everyone's giving the Bears a hard time about the second round pick. They did that because as of right now, the Bears were 43rd, the Packers were 44th in the draft. They stole that second round pick. You pay the price to keep your neighbor, you know, maybe with the lights off for a little bit longer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, like, I don't know what the offensive identity is of the Packers. And I could say the same thing about the Bucs too, even though they won today. Like, they can't run block. They can pass block okay, but like when you're in 3rd and 7 all the time, it doesn't matter because defenses know what you're going to do. Football is broken up into 3 things, in my opinion: deception, blocking, and tackling. And the Packers can't do 2 of that. They can't deceive and they can't tackle. They can block okay in pass protection, but that's it. And so if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're just like, what do I do now? And so I think today, Joey and Mark, he felt that extra pressure to try to make something happen multiple times.
3 picks.
Hence the 3 picks, right? Like,
great call.
We have never seen that. We have never seen that from him in the red zone. And so I was like, what is going on? And it's not like Jared Goff lit it up, and DeAndre Swift was banged up going into this game. And so it's like, the Packers are a mess. They're not going to the playoffs. I did not pick them to go to the Super Bowl because of this reason, losing Davante Adams, and they're always the sexy pick. But it's like, Aaron Rodgers has 1 ring, and he's perhaps a top 7 quarterback of all time, top 6, 5, whatever. So it's been a real disappointment for him and Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff there. Again, no offensive identity. Aaron Jones, where did he go, by the way? Like, he's not doing anything right now. So credit to the Lions for getting the victory. They're not going anywhere either. So it's kind of just a throwaway game because neither of these teams are making any noise this year. But the Packers were pathetic today, Joey, no doubt.
Let me
Oh.
piggyback off this. Because 291 yards from Aaron Rodgers, a season high. This is a quarterback who used to be able to throw for 300 yards in his sleep.
On the regular.
And Joey,
Yep.
you know this is better than anyone. There were times he would dominate this division so much so that it was like, can we force him to play left-handed? Should it be mandated that Aaron Rodgers has to play lefty against this team because of how good he's been? So that's one thing I noticed. You mentioned the Bucs too. 6 or 7 drops from their receivers today, and it nearly cost them against the Rams. They're able to eke out a victory at the very end, get a score late. But I look at late in the game where Scotty Miller drops a ball in the end zone.
Right.
They're able to, follow through and end up scoring on the same drive. But are we thinking about that game differently if Brady and the Bucs aren't able to punch it in because these receivers have not been great either for a Buccaneers team that cannot run the football either? Point blank period. I don't know if it's just they're not going to. Playoff Lenny and all that with Fournette. They're using their quick passing game as an extension of what has been a lackluster running game and a running game that's been, if not the worst in the league, near the bottom of the league all season long.
Well, you talk about the Rams and the Bucs. That was the ultimate disappointment bowl because you have the Rams coming off a Super Bowl championship, and they're probably not going to make the playoffs, right? Then you have the Bucs, who were Super Bowl favorites and all that good stuff, and I picked them to go and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And here they are looking pathetic when they won, but it was a field goal fest. So it's we could be facing a scenario, guys, where Aaron Rodgers, the defending champions, and Tom Brady all missed the playoffs. I mean, that is a very real scenario right now. And I think it has to do with offensive line play. All right. I'm a big boy football fan. And if you don't block and run block and pass protect in particular, obviously, then you're not going to win football games. And Tom Brady, obviously, I feel knew this going to the season, considering the injuries on the offensive line for him. Cincinnati has struggled at times because their offensive line can't really perform. And Joe Burrow, yes, was great today, but he still got sacked a lot, more so than what you want. So when you see this bad offensive line play across the NFL, I mean, it's pretty sad to watch. And the Rams and the Packers and the Bucs are in that category of bad offensive line play. And Mark, to your point, in terms of run blocking, Tom Brady needs that running back help. He can't scramble around on a 3rd and 8, obviously, and create a play like a Justin Fields or a Lamar Jackson. So for him, he's sort of in this weird territory where he's not getting the help he needs. And he too, like Aaron Rodgers, is forcing things down the field and throwing interceptions. And he's not throwing interceptions as much as Aaron Rodgers is this year, actually, but he's making mistakes. He's low balling and what have you. He's a little bit jittery in the pocket. So it's a wild NFL season, guys. I mean, talk about the volatility that we're seeing.
Well, and honestly, Cam, you're nailing it when you talk about those 3 teams, because if you look across the landscape of the NFL, probably the exception a little bit with the Packers is Aaron Jones has had a good season, but obviously he left today with an injury. You look at the Rams and you look at the Bucs. This season for me is not about the running back. It's about the running game. If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, why are they hanging around on the cusp of a playoff run right now is because they ran for 202 team rushing yards today. You're seeing a collective effort of running football in the NFL this year that I don't think we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years. It's obviously a subversion, and we talk all the time about the single high safety and the way that coverages and linebackers are getting smaller. And I think we're seeing that right now. And if the Bucs and the Rams don't have a strong running game, which they both don't have, it might not matter that your quarterback is a Hall of Famer. Granted, maybe their pieces are a little bit more compromised than normal, but just the way that the trend of the NFL is moving right now, it doesn't play in the Rams-Bucs favor right now to possibly get back into this race. I'm probably going to hang my hat a little bit more on Tom Brady right now, possibly still winning that bad NFC South than I probably would with maybe Aaron Rodgers turning it around, or maybe even Matthew Stafford turning it around. But it's just really funny that they're not able to do the things they've done in past years, because it's just the style of football that's going on right now. We're here on Bleav NFL Live, Week 9 with Lock It In's Cam Rogers. We're going to get you out of here on this, Cam, because the Sunday Night Football is coming up in just a second. Titans versus Chiefs. You teased it a little bit. Bring it back right now. Give us your favorite bets, your final score. Mark, I want to hear from you. Final score, too, as well, for Titans Chiefs tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, guys. And even if Ryan Tannehill is not playing the quarterback position, let's remember the fact that the Titans have won 2 of the last 3 against Patrick Mahomes. So here's the game plan. And it's not really like I'm breaking any news, but they're going to try to run the football with Derrick Henry 25 to 30 times. quick in this game, right? And keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. I think they do that somewhat effectively, and don't sleep on that Titans defensive line too. Really good with Jeffrey Simmons and company. I think they get after Patrick Mahomes a little bit, make this a little bit tighter than what people understand and what the books are saying. I think the Titans cover this game. The Chiefs win, though, outright at Arrowhead. So,
Mark, what's your prediction tonight? What's going to happen?
I ultimately think it depends on whether Tannehill goes or not. We're almost an hour in, Joey. We've buried the lead here. Steelers bye week, no longer dead last in the league in scoring. The Colts putting up only 3 points today are now averaging 14.7 points per game, and the Steelers at 15. I like the Chiefs to cover at home. Arrowhead, a raucous crowd, tough place to play, prime time Arrowhead. It really ultimately depends. If Tannehill goes, I do think the Titans can cover. If not, I like the Chiefs at home. I also do think the Chiefs win this game pretty easily, because if you can barely get by the Houston Texans being very one-dimensional with the rookie quarterback who's just not ready right now, what are you going to do when you play a team led by Patrick Mahomes that can still put up points in bunches even without Tyreek Hill? So there you have it.
He's Bleav's Cam Rogers. You can check him out every single week. It's Lock It In, Cam Rogers himself. He does national work all over the place, making his picks. Fantastic stuff, man. Cam, we've been doing emails and texts and stuff for a long time, man, but we've gotten a chance to cut it up here. Thank you so much for taking the time, man. Plug all your socials, all that good stuff right here on the Bleav NFL Live Week 9. Good to see you, man. Hope to see you soon.
You guys are the GOATs. I appreciate you. You guys have been long-standing hosts on the network. I was employee number 1, by the way, of Bleav, and to see this company grow as it has, it's been amazing. So I appreciate you guys and all your hard work. Keep it up. Love Corey. Love Ike as well. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. You can follow my picks and all that good stuff. A lot of golf content to come as well on the show. So appreciate you guys, and we'll chat soon.
Proud to be on the team. The future is bright. Cam, man, thank you so much, dude. Thanks for coming on. Have a great week. See ya. Mark, we just got a couple more minutes here before the national anthem of Sunday Night Football. Can we do a little 7-7-3? Can we do a little 3-1-2 here before we get out of here?
Yes, sir. Let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
So here's my thing. And look, I think Josh made a bunch of salient points. And of course, I'm super excited, right? And how couldn't I be? You know what I mean? I'm like JoJo, the Indian circus boy with a pretty new pet. I've never had a quarterback before ever in Chicago. Tommy boy. Come on, what
I got you. Okay, sorry. Took a second.
You're like, oh, his name is JoJo. So here's what I want to throw at you real quick. Is that, growing up around Chicago sports, we have these, it's hard to describe them as what they are, but I'm just going to call them Chicago curses or Chicago myths, right? Stuff that we've grown up with our aunts and uncles and cousins telling us that this certain thing is never going to happen, but damn it, we're going to love this team anyways. Now, for a long time, what was it? The Chicago Blackhawks hadn't won a Stanley Cup in 50 or 60 years.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me interject really quickly.
Yeah,
I just want to say one thing. I remember days where they would not put the Blackhawks on TV because they wanted fans to show up at the United Center because they wouldn't sell out the home arena. Please continue. But
no, that
was what we're talking about.
That was another Chicago curse. The Hawk Vision. They would never play their home games, and then
sorry, I know this is an NFL show, but I had to point that.
No, I'm just trying to illustrate where we're coming from, right? You've got the Chicago White Sox, right? Hadn't won a World Series in 88 years. They got it done. You go obviously over to the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan wins 6 titles. Nothing to complain about, right? And we're not quite there, but we are coming up on the 25th anniversary next year of the last time the Chicago Bulls won an NBA title. So for a long time, amongst me and my Chicago brethren and friends and sports fans, the last great curse was the Chicago Cubs in the 108 years. And in 2016, they finally did it. So what else was left? And Mark, the last one, in my opinion, that exists right now in Chicago sports, which is the Chicago myth, is the great Chicago Bears quarterback.
Yep.
That is the last one. That's the last one out there. You can tell stories about Jim McMahon, and you can spin yarns about Eric Kramer or Sid Luckman, Jim Miller, Jay Cutler, whatever you want to do. But that is the last one that Chicago sports fans have never seen. Yeah. I'm not saying they're seeing it now. I'm not, Mark. But today, you know what, man? I'll be honest. I kind of got chills a little bit. And I really did. That we are seeing a progression that is leading towards a direction that could possibly one day, as I hedge my bets, bring us a little bit closer to ending that curse of the great Chicago Bears quarterback. And today was a step forward. I'm not saying it's the full thing, but we're getting closer.
You left one name out there on that Bears quarterback list. Shout out Bears backup legend Shane Matthews from the
Oh
2001
boy,
season. My guy.
beating up on those Packers that year.
No, it's like, and you see, it's like, okay, well, is it a cold weather thing? And you see what Rodgers and Favre have done for the last 30 years and what Mahomes is doing in Kansas City and Brady and Roethlisberger playing cold weather cities. So it's like, well, at least across the league, that ain't it either. But it's been a long time for Bears franchise to where it's like, here's what we're talking about here, Joey. I point to two stats. The Bears have never had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns in a season. The Bears have never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a single season. As long as the league's been around, and they've been in the league for as long as it's been in existence, and at least you're playing a 17-game regular season, Joey, I know Fields is a running quarterback, but that's something that I would like to put to bed, to where it's like, if you got a guy and you're actually legitimate, you've got to be able to put those two stats behind you, because that's how bad the quarterback play has been in Chicago.
Yeah, Eric Kramer, 29 touchdowns, I believe, in 98. And then Jay Cutler threw, I believe, for 28 his first year in 2009. He also threw for 25 interceptions that year, too, as well. But no, look, and here's the thing is that it's just maybe my final thought, and this is the NFL, right? We all have our favorite teams. We have our sports fandom. You know, Josh is so passionate right now, not just about his Pats, but his family members who are seeing this Jets team right now compete. And it means something, right? Where I'm not sure if that's not going to happen this year, right? With the 30 touchdowns and the 4,000 yards, but it is an emotional thing. The great Chicago Bears quarterback, because I don't even know if we can say pretty good. You know what I mean? It's been that bereft. Cutler maybe skimmed the sun of pretty good a couple of times in his career, but it's never happened before.
We forgot Rex Grossman as well. I mean, he at least led the team to a Super Bowl appearance. So it's like, for at
Rex
least
played
a season, for half a season. I remember that first half of that 2006 season. He was in the conversation for MVP. Again, this was the first half of the year, not talking about the back half of the year and how the rest of his career went. But taking a team to a Super Bowl, I don't care if you're just along for the ride. That is a feat. And so we'd be remiss not to at least mention that, Joey, as we go through Bears quarterback history.
And I'll throw it in there too. He kicked the crap out of the Saints in the NFC Championship game, which is probably the greatest Chicago Bears game I've ever watched in my life. We kicked the crap out of them.
Well, here's one other thing too, Joey. When the Bears were on Monday Night Football against the Patriots a few weeks ago, and they bring Vince Vaughn out there, and he's got the Bears sweater, the Ditka sweater, and they're talking about the 85 Bears. It was decades ago, and it's almost generations ago. And it's like, what do you have to hang your head on as a franchise at this point moving forward? Because with the NFL, it's a young man's league. It's what have you done for me lately? And the Bears are still hanging on to a history where they won one Super Bowl all the way back in 1985, and when they won the Super Bowl at the start of 1986 in the playoff run. We're still hanging on to that all these years later. And what do you have to hang your hat on recently? And that's the frustration.
Yeah, well, you have Cody Parkey, and you have the talent, the unfulfilled talent of Jay Cutler, and you have exactly, in his MCL injury against the Packers in the NFC Championship game in 2010, and that's about it. But here's the thing, though, and look, like I have been rightly categorized as in terms of my NFL team, middle class in terms of whether I've been spoiled or not with greatness and success as a Chicago Bears fan throughout my entire life. But what it does is, and this happens, and you've seen it right now with Jalen Hurts. You see it right now with a guy like Justin Herbert, and clearly a guy like a Josh Allen and a Patrick Mahomes who have that completely wide open. But, you know, if you're the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields continues to play this way, and all the things that we mentioned about draft capital and salary cap, all that good stuff, if Justin Fields continues to play this way, I am willing to say that a window for possibly making it to a Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years is now open, because I'm feeling a draft after today. I'm not saying it's happening this year. I'm not saying it's happening next year, but we all know how progressions work in the NFL. Now, the Steelers are a little bit different, right? Where it was almost a trading, a baton switch, if you will, where it started with defense and Big Ben with success. And then as the defense maybe took that small step down, Ben ascended, right? There was a baton passing that went on there. But a lot of NFL teams do have to have this type of year-by-year progression. The Eagles are seeing it right now. And there is a world, especially with Justin Fields in his legs, because, man, let's be honest, dude's not going to be able to do that forever. He's probably got 2-3 years, maybe more left to do that. And please, dear Ditka, keep him healthy during that time. But, the Chicago Bears will lose games this year. No one cares. But in the end, think about this with your team. Whatever team that you cheer for right now, if you're saying to yourself, maybe you could possibly opening up a window for contention, I'll take that right now. I'll take that all day long. And I'm encouraged. I'm excited. And again, I've never felt so good after a loss. It's crazy.
Joey, let me piggyback off this. It's when the quarterback's on the rookie salary, because if any quarterback's worth his salt, he'll quickly outperform what he's making on the rookie salary. So that's talked a lot about. But what's not talked about is when the NFL had its lockout in 2011, that was a casualty of implementing a rookie salary cap, because gone are the days where you've got to pay Sam Bradford and Jamarcus Russell out the wazoo on the rookie deal right out of the gate immediately upon coming into the league. If you have a rookie quarterback who's coming in years 2, 3, and 4, and then when you pick up the 5th-year option, he's still underpaid even though he's making better money, and then you can franchise tag him for a year or two if you can't reach a long-term deal, that is not talked about enough in the aftermath of the 2011 lockout. It's, okay, the rookie salary, but why is that? Because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if you swung and missed on a rookie quarterback, you're talking about setting your franchise back 5 to 10 years. Now, even if the Bears missed on Fields, and this is something with the Steelers are going to have to do with Kenny Pickett, if you swing and miss, you just take another step to the plate and you try to knock one out of the park the next time around. I'm not saying the Steelers should draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft, but if they see something with Kenny Pickett that they don't like this season and they get a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft, and there's going to be a good quarterback class is what the consensus is, I don't think it's out of the ordinary to say, hey, let's do what the Arizona Cardinals did, where they draft Josh Rosen, then the very next years they draft Kyler Murray. I don't think that should be out of the realm of possibility anymore because you have a rookie salary cap anymore. It's a little bit different, and it's like from a PR standpoint, it's a little bit of a nightmare, but it's the reality of what the salary cap constraint is for a rookie quarterback. And we see how many teams go on Super Bowl runs. We saw it happen with the Bengals and Joe Burrow a season ago, to where, yeah, he's going to get paid once that rookie deal's up, but you can load up around him with the talent around him needed to make a run. Then he's going to get the big contract. And if a quarterback is good and is truly elite, he'll cover up the blemishes of what we've seen Aaron Rodgers do, Patrick Mahomes do, Brady do. The elite level quarterbacks, they can cover up the talent deficiencies to where early on in their career, you can really, really load up around a guy. Again, I'm not breaking any news here, but it's the aftermath of what happened post 2011 lockouts, not talked about nearly enough, Joey.
No, it's such a great point and so very well said. And maybe to put a button on it, that's why Justin Fields making progress right now is so important.
100%.
You have to figure it out. You look at Jalen Hurts. You can talk about a Russell Wilson on his rookie deal. And then you can look at other situations like a Baker Mayfield situation that doesn't work out. There is going to be a clock. There is an hourglass with all of these quarterbacks. So the sooner that you know, the sooner that you see progress, the better that you can possibly be to compete and maybe, I don't know, make the moves like the Eagles did to go out and get a guy like A.J. Brown. And that's why I'm so excited as a Bears fan today. And I'm so excited because we've been doing this a bunch and I haven't been able to talk about the Bears a lot. So we finally got an opportunity, a rightful example, Mark, to spend a lot of time on a lot of things that run through my mind on a week-to-week basis. But we got to get out of here because Sunday Night Football is just a couple minutes away with Titans and Chiefs. Thank you so much for checking out Bleav NFL Live Week 9, 32 NFL podcasts paired with 32 former NFL players, and also a wildly talented roster of co-hosts that pair with them. One of them is with me today, Mark Bergin. Mark, before we say goodbye, I have to say thank you so much to my guests. We had Charity Stripes Josh Fisher on today. We had Lock-It-In's Cam Rogers. Fantastic guys, fantastic members of the Bleav, leading the charge on this roster every single week. We're here every single Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Bleav in Steelers, Mark Bergin with me. I'm the regular man, and I love it. I love it when you come by. I love this stuff. I had to bring you in for this one too because I was excited about the guest, and luckily I was excited about Justin Fields, and even more excited, I didn't have to see the stress of the Steelers, another Steelers week upon your face. You look relaxed, you look comfortable, and I like it.
Joey, you're the absolute best. And if I can implore to any of the listeners and viewers, go check out his show with Corey Wooten. Check out the
Thank you.
sports guy, the king of Chicago media. Joey, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
And you got to check out Bleav in Steelers with Ike Taylor, one of our flagship shows, one of our crown jewels. You can't miss it every single week. They don't just talk about the Steelers. They talk about all things NFL all the time. And that's why I love your guys' show so very much. Thank you so much for checking us out this week. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the night game and screw it. Go Bears. Peace. See you, Rogers.